Good to have a midweek game with what's coming at the weekend to keep the focus this week.
Just how it is when the fixtures come out, Adam. You have to deal with it. Whether it's a local derby, it's a team that are going well in terms of Bristol City. Whatever it is, you have to deal with the fixture list. You have to deal with the hurdles that you have to get over. It's all part and parcel. That's why I've said all along, delighted in terms of the position that we're in. If it was as easy as people make out it to be, then why aren't everybody else at the top of the division winning games of football? It isn't, because of how difficult it is and the challenges that this division poses, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about it in football. Well, maybe outside the Premier League, everybody talks about the Championship. Whether the ex-managers, players, pundits, fans, or whatever, it isn't an easy division. To win any division or to be up the top of the division in any league, in any country, you have to do a lot of things right, and we're going to have to do a lot of things right between now and the end of the season, and we have to deal with midweek games. I don't think after this week, I think we might have a couple. Obviously, we've got the Friday, Monday turnaround, Easter fixtures. I think we have a midweek game against Millwall, so let's deal with it and deal with it in the best possible way, which is putting on another good performance and hopefully gives us an opportunity of winning a game. But yeah, again, talk about the opposition, their position, the young players that Liam is working with and the players that they've got, and the outstanding season that they have, and they'll want to keep that going. They'll have their fight, they'll have their target, which obviously is to get into the playoffs, and we've got our own fight. So big game looming, and hopefully we can produce another big performance.
Gone under the radar maybe a little bit, Bristol City, because their situation right now is excellent in terms of their league position, their form at the moment. Certainly not a game to be taken lightly in any way, shape or form.
Oh, never. Nobody should take any game in this division lightly. I certainly don't, because of the experience that I've had in the division. And yeah, I think maybe, Adam, it's because the amount of teams that have been floating about, sort of out of the playoffs, in the playoffs, sort of. It's really congested in from fifth to what, you got to look at another 10 teams, haven't you? Some have to win a lot of games of football. There'll be some at the bottom of that list. In 12th or 13th or 14th that they're going to have to win 8 out of 10 or whatever it is, which is incredible form going into the last part of the season. But some big clubs. Bristol City's a big club in the division. They've gone close on a number of occasions, and who's to say that it isn't going to be their season where they get in the playoffs. It's happened before, and then all of a sudden you find yourselves in the Premier League. I don't think anybody would have fancied Luton to get into the Premier League, and all of a sudden, they're at Wembley and they're winning a game on penalties, and all of a sudden they're a Premier League team. So a load to play for in that part of the division, and some really big clubs as well that are flying. Coventry are flying at the moment. We've got them to come. West Brom are doing well. Middlesbrough have got another result. Norwich are in amongst it. Some big clubs. So everything to play for in the last 10 games of the season. I wouldn't think that anybody, maybe outside a couple of clubs, have got nothing to play for. And then I'll still go on about, they will be, because they like to upset teams as well. It's just that mentality that we all have. They don't like to see teams do well. And so we've got something to play for. And if those teams that haven't got anything to play for, we're up against, then we know their approach, and we have to deal with it.
And just finally from me, the reverse fixture at Ashton Gate was kind of a real example of the season. A willingness to win, a number of key players missing. One getting his first goal for the club. But kind of, if you look back, it typifies the spirit that you and your team have shown this season. Yeah,
it was. It was a topsy-turvy game. We started off okay, created some chances, but the home form is fabulous. We switched off, they get a penalty, and then we come roaring back. We wouldn't have possibly expected a 17-year-old to come on the pitch at a top end championship game to score was great experience for him, and obviously the scenes at the end. We had an advantage of playing against 10 men, but I've said our approach all season is to go and win games of football. There's times where you're going to have to see games out. There's times where, people, and I've said we're learning on the job and we're not perfect. We can't be embarrassed if teams have periods of the game that we have to deal with. Whether it's Leeds United at home, when they're losing and they're trying to get back into the game, and then they want to go and win it. You get pushed back at times and you have to deal with it. Deal with the situation on Saturday. Quite easily go and put 5 people at the top of the pitch and go for a second goal and leave ourselves wide open. But you have to understand that it's a game of football, that they're going to have a little bit of the game, and they did have a tiny bit of the game on Saturday, where they got to a stage of the game after 75 minutes, 80 minutes, or whatever it was. They know they weren't going to get smashed 3 or 4, and they tried to get something out of the game. And we had to cope with it, deal with it. Certain parts of it that we could have done a little bit better, transition and maybe a little bit more quality. But we saw the game out, and the best teams have to see games out and do it. It wasn't a defensive attitude from us. To win games of football in the division, you can't have a defensive mindset. We haven't got a defensive mindset. We go to win games, but you have to understand, realise and accept that teams are going to have a bit on you. Let's deal with it, and let's make sure that we get the result that we want, which was a big 3 points on Saturday.